I had an abortion April 5th, 2017. I was 5 months pregnant. The day I was going to find out the gender, I decided to just proceed with the abortion. I was in an abusive relationship, not physically, but very emotionally and mentally. It was abusive, and I have 2 kids already, and so my ex-boyfriend at the time didn't have any kids. He was an alcoholic, very mean, very controlling. He always put me down, and I didn't want that life for me anymore. And so unfortunately I made the decision to have an abortion at 5 months. So when I went into the clinic and they told me I can have the abortion, but it's going to be surgical, I didn't know what that entailed. And I wasn't provided any counseling, no resources, nothing. I just went in, they did the procedure. It was a 2-day procedure. So when I went in the first day, they didn't explain to me exactly what was going to happen. They just gave me an overview. So the first day they injected 2 straw-like things, like 2, I don't know what to call them, inside of me, so that way to get me to start dilating. And I was not prepared for the amount of pain that I was going to experience just from that alone. And so I had to have it in for 24 hours. And so when I returned the next day, I still didn't know what to expect. I was just told to check in, to go into a room. I was given a robe, and they told me to just dress, and then after that I would go to the operation room. And the doctor was informative. She told me at that very moment, before I was going to have the procedure, what exactly was going to happen. And I was scared, I was lost, I was confused, I didn't know what to expect. And so when she asked me if I had any questions, I thought to myself, I'm like, this is too late for questions, I'm already here. So I really wasn't able to process everything, and before I knew it, I was injected with an IV. I fell asleep, and I remember when I woke up, I was in a room with many other girls, but we were all separated by curtains. And I remember waking up and females were crying. The girls next to me were crying, and I remember vividly that there was this female specifically. She was crying very loud, and she was saying, I want my baby back, I want my baby. And I didn't know what to think or what to do, and I was frozen. It was like I didn't know what to expect and what to do. What was my next step? Nobody told me what to do after that. So when I left the clinic, I was forced to deal with everything on my own. I didn't have any help. I wasn't told that there was post-abortion counseling. I wasn't made aware of that. So I experienced depression. I was depressed. I had suicidal thoughts because the amount of trauma that I endured, it brought a lot of guilt and shame. And so all of that contributed to negative thoughts, negative self-talk, suicidal thoughts. And also I ended up getting a laceration as a result of the abortion. And that was something that I really wish would have been mentioned to me, because when I started exercising, as soon as I got cleared to, my body wasn't ready. And so I ended up getting a laceration in my uterus. And that also contributed to my depression, because I didn't know how my body was going to respond. I didn't know what to do because I didn't know there was resources. So I just felt like my body was barely catching up to the fact that I had an abortion. So when I had the laceration, I was out for 3 weeks. I didn't want to get surgery, and I wanted to let it heal by itself. And so I couldn't do a lot of things. And that made me very depressed, because I felt like, well, I already had the abortion. I don't need to suffer anymore, but I still had to deal with the physical aspects. And once I dealt with the physical aspects, it was like, okay, well, now I have to deal with the negative self-talk. the guilt, the shame, the emotional aspect. And so it was very overwhelming. So what I did was I suppressed it, and I relied on alcohol, on sex. It really wasn't a good time. And so looking back now, there was a lot of self-harm because I did not know the knowledge. I wasn't given resources. I just was like, okay, this is normal. Let me just suppress everything and move on with my life. But I didn't realize that the abortion really affected my life. And the subconscious aspects that I was doing, it was bad. And when I met with a psychologist, she recommended a month ago that I seek post-abortion counseling. And I was really surprised to hear that there was even such a thing. I was like, this post-abortion counseling, why was I not told about this? The clinic didn't tell me anything about this. My friends didn't tell me anything about this. I didn't know about this. So when I finally made the decision to seek help, it was very scary at first, but I'm glad I did because I no longer feel guilt. There's no shame. I don't have to deny my experience. I don't have to deny my baby. I'm thinking it was a female. She was gonna be a girl. I don't have to deny her. So it's great to be able to say, I have 3 kids. 2 are with me and the other one's with God. She was not at fault for anything. And so now that I've given her her own identity, it's brought me a lot of peace. And I've learned with, the post-abortion counseling, forgiveness. Forgiveness is very important. It's not something that you can process on your own. In abortion, it's a surgery. It's the loss of a child. So you have to process and you have to work through that trauma. You cannot have an abortion and deny the trauma because it will surface and it will be very detrimental. I think what I would say just as a last thing is just to kind of reiterate, abortions do not define women. I have known since I started putting my story out there, especially on social media, I've had so many females reach out to me saying, I've had an abortion too. And I've been, self-punishing. I've been self-destructive for many years. And I didn't know why. But then when you shared your story, it was because of the abortion. And I realized I never made peace with it. So it is okay. Everything is going to be okay. As long as you seek help, you will get better. It will get easier. The first step is seeking help. And after that, it gets easier.